A billionaire knelt at her son's grave, lost in grief until she heard quiet sobbing nearby. She turned and saw a black waitress, holding a child and clutching an old photo of her son. Confused and shaken, she moved closer and what she discovered shattered everything she thought she knew about her family, her company, and herself. The woman wasn't trespassing. She was mourning too. And the child beside her carried a truth money could never bury. This is the story of a graveyard meeting that unearthed a buried injustice. Welcome story lovers. From where are you watching? Comment the name of your city. Asterisk, it was a grey, chilly morning when Eleanor Whitmore, one of the wealthiest women in the city, stepped out of her black car at the cemetery gates. She wasn't used to silence. Her days were filled with boardrooms, travel, and luxury, but today marked 5 years since her son Daniel's tragic death. The graveyard was empty, just the wind and her heels crunching over fallen leaves. Eleanor, usually composed, felt her chest tighten as she neared the marble headstone. Her life had been one of control and success, but the loss of Daniel was the one thing money couldn't fix. As she knelt by the grave, wiping dust from the name engraved in stone, a soft, unfamiliar sob echoed nearby. Turning, Eleanor spotted a black woman in a faded uniform, holding a small child, crying just yards away. Something about her presence felt wrong, but not in the way Eleanor expected. Something unspoken lingered. Asterisk, Eleanor tried to ignore the woman, assuming she was just another visitor, but the quiet sobs grew louder, raw, and uncontrolled. The waitress, still in her work apron, clutched a crumpled photo in her hand as her child leaned against her, confused and shivering. Eleanor glanced and froze. The photo in the woman's hand. It was Daniel, her son, smiling, young, standing next to the waitress like they knew each other. No, like they were close. Heart pounding, Eleanor approached. The woman looked up, startled, and instinctively shielded her child. Her eyes, wide with fear, met Eleanor's for a second. Neither spoke. Then the woman whispered, "I didn't mean to upset you. I just wanted to tell him, thank you." The words didn't make sense. Why would she be thanking Daniel? Over the next few minutes, a truth unraveled that Eleanor had never imagined. Years ago, Daniel had secretly volunteered at a local diner in a struggling black neighborhood, not for praise, but to make a difference. He had helped this woman Latasha when she was homeless and pregnant, even offering to be a godfather to her child. No one in Eleanor's world knew. Eleanor listened in stunned silence. But as Latasha shared more, something shifted. She spoke of how the diner closed due to zoning laws, changed overnight laws that only targeted black-owned businesses. She lost her job, her home, everything, and Eleanor. She realized those laws were pushed by her own corporation's redevelopment plans, but the worst part was yet to come. Asterisk, Eleanor stood frozen as Latasha pulled a worn envelope from her purse. Inside was a letter, Daniel's handwriting unmistakable. It was addressed to Eleanor, never sent. In it, Daniel begged his mother to stop the company's demolition of the neighborhood, warning her it would destroy lives. He wrote about Latasha, the unborn child, and the dreams of people clinging to hope. Eleanor's hands trembled. Her own son had tried to stop her. She had ignored the signs, dismissed the protests, and labeled the neighborhood a cleanup zone. Now, she stared at the woman her son called family. Suddenly, the child, Daniel's godchild, reached out and touched Eleanor's coat, eyes full of trust. And in that moment, the billionaire who thought she had everything realized she had failed. The one person who saw beyond wealth and race. Dear audience, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to give it a like, it really helps. Asterisk, Eleanor didn't leave the cemetery the same woman. The world she built of profit, prestige, and power suddenly felt hollow. Within weeks, she halted her company's redevelopment plans, redirected funds to rebuild the diner, and publicly acknowledged the racial damage her empire had caused. But redemption wasn't instant, it never is. She met with community leaders, listened without interrupting, and began to understand that change starts with truth and humility. The child, Daniel's godchild, became a quiet reminder of the future Eleanor almost erased. This wasn't just one mother's reckoning. It was a mirror held up to a world that values wealth over justice, silence over action. How many families have to suffer before those in power finally see the cost of their choices? Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories and new videos.